He should be coming.
Yeah.
Boy, that was just crazy. It was making me. I had to put in my email. I had to start a little profile thing and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
There he is.
Boy, this looks awful. I
You're a little blurry, Rich.
don't know if there's anything I can do about it.
Blurry might be better.
Thanks.
You need to center up your camera a little bit more.
Never use the webcam till now.
Lower it. There you go. Lower it more. There we go. We got you now.
Okay.
Boy, that Discord was crazy.
I don't know why the hell it did all that shit, because I'm not even getting the emails for it.
Yeah, I think so. She's about
Well,
to
I
be
got
mad.
I got the email for it, but it kept wanting me to do this and that. I had to put in my birthday, my email address, all kinds of stuff. Had to verify I wasn't a robot.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna test the OBS. Make
All
sure
right.
this shit is working.
Can y'all hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
And Sean, you want to say what?
You're a little sideways.
I get a little sideways all the time.
I was born this
Hey,
way.
Sean, we can't see Gabe.
He's right there.
We can't see him.
Huh.
I see his shoulder.
Huh. I'm sure. Throwing up on the camera for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so that. Fuck.
I widened our camera.
You know what? I'm deleting that. Alright. Okay, hold on. I'm fighting with OBS here. Okay. Okay, now stop.
They don't want
You
this.
son of a bitch.
Yes, it is. I feel like I got little metal shavings in my fingers. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to get OBS since I'm not on my laptop. None of this is set up correctly, and I'm having to set it all up different.
Yay.
Yeah, you're killing me. Video capture device. Yeah. Wait, what was that? Okay, window capture. Maybe that'll work better.
Yeah, I sent like 2 emails that should have sent that Discord thing out.
Well, like I said, it kept wanting me to do this and that. I was having to put in my birthday. I was having to prove I wasn't a robot. All kinds of stuff.
I still don't believe that you're not a robot though.
Mm.
Did you have a Discord account?
No.
You need one to use Discord.
That could be a reason. I guess we're going to have to. We need to practice on an off day with Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we see Gabe.
Is that better?
Yeah.
And
Hold on.
we got a little unicorn up there in the corner. Over there, right there. Ha.
I'm looking over there.
I'm pointing with my camera right there.
Stop recording. Show recordings.
Some recordings, no recordings. We'll
Oh,
all die someday.
Fuck. Why won't
What's
this
going
thing
on?
work? It won't capture the whole screen. I'm having to I'm having to force it into the screen.
I forgot I was wearing I changed shirts. It's my muddy bow hunter shirt.
Oh, let me full screen this. Share screen, no. Reaction, no.
Yes,
Option, full screen.
correct.
Okay, trying now. You're a little bit cut off the frame, Sean, just a hair. Hold on.
Yay! Get on my screen.
Okay, stopping recording. Let me look at it again. Sorry, if I'd been smart, I would have done this shit yesterday.
Yeah, that would have been good. I guess we'll forgive you this time. Maybe.
What we
Okay,
need?
finally, I finally got the damn thing.
All right, great.
And audio's coming through clear. We're good.
Yay!
All right, we ready to roll then?
The only thing is your mic is like right in the way of your face. I mean, it's an improvement on your looks, but that's about it.
Because I broke a tooth off.
Broke a tooth though.
Yeah, so
Oh man.
Yay! I have seen
Put
that.
that there.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm trying to hide my face.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, whatever works.
I could go like that. Hello.
You're gonna fight it.
Anyway, I gotta use it for a minute. I gotta get to my thing real quick. Sorry, I wasn't prepared this time.
You're good. I mean, this is all stuff I can edit out anyway.
Yeah. Alright, y'all ready?
Let's roll, buddy.
Alright, we're taking a trip back into the not so distant history. The date is April 30th, 1945. The Red Army was closing in. We are under Berlin, Germany. The man looks at the men around him and said, "It's finished. Goodbye." He takes his wife by the hand and leads her into their private rooms. A gunshot rings out. Everyone knows their leader had ended his life. The most hated man, Adolf Hitler, had supposedly killed himself along with his wife, Eva. Just before the Soviet army took the bunker, that's what witnesses, the Soviet army, and the historians want us to believe. Yet, what if that was wrong? That Hitler made it an escape to South America? And I think it ought to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down on this one. I
There it
mean,
is.
no doubt about it. You know, it's funny, you know, they talk about it and they say, you know, some say it was a body double that they found. You know, it's just crazy.
And you know, what's crazy to me, look at how much tension has been that was between the United States and Russia or the Soviet Union, but we took their word on Hitler killing himself, and they would not release the body or any information about it.
Well, you know what's curious, you know, after Hitler's death, you know, at a Potsdam conference in 1945, when asked about Hitler's death, Stalin said he was either living in Spain or Argentina.
There, if you I've seen a lot of documentaries where they're talking about. They've interviewed people in South America, especially Argentina, that said that there were Nazi camps or Nazi villages around the areas. So the Germans were infiltrating Argentina anyway. So I'm just wondering how much of that is Hitler trying to get a new army up and going.
Well, based on historical, what we know in history, Argentina was actually really friendly towards the Third Reich throughout most of this. And yeah, there are a lot of towns that have direct ancestry to German immigrants from the 1940s. And even you can go there today, and even their architecture is very German like.
Yeah.
They still speak German as their primary language, actually. And here's an interesting little tidbit. The Russians did release, I believe, it was a skull fragment they said was Hitler, but we did DNA testing on it, and it was a skull of a woman.
Yeah, that was in 2009 on actually an episode of his History's Mystery Quest.
Mm-hmm.
It was examined, let's see, by specialist Nick Ballantyne.
But if you think about it, his wife supposedly took a poison, took a pill, a suicide pill, and it would have been a lot easier for Hitler to escape by himself than it would have been him and his wife to escape. And if
That's
his
very
wife,
true.
And talking about that skull fragment being a woman's, it could have very well been his wife's skull fragment after she had taken that suicide pill. He could, dude didn't have a heart. He, I'm sure it didn't affect him a bit that she killed herself.
Oh, I'm sure it didn't. He was such a cruel and sadistic person. And then there's, like I said, so many theories about it all. In July of 1945, British newspapers repeated comments from a Soviet officer that said the charred body discovered by the Soviets was a poor body double.
See, why when you had the option of a suicide pill would you instead choose to shoot yourself? It could have been something like disfiguring the face of a body double.
Yeah.
Make it unrecognizable.
Oh, it wouldn't be hard to do.
And we were talking about towns in Argentina that bore striking resemblance to German towns. God forbid, I'm going to butcher this name. San Carlos de I'm just going to call it San Carlos, also known as Little Switzerland or the Nazi Disneyland, ground zero for Nazi hiding rumors. The town is filled with Alpine-style buildings, German restaurants, chocolate shops, and even an Oktoberfest-style festivals. That ain't the only one either. There's also Villa General Belgrano. German immigrants, including survivors from the Nazi battleship Graf Spee, were rumored to live there. They also host Oktoberfest. The whole town has wood-framed houses, beer gardens, and later hosting parades. And there's other towns for sure.
We're talking about he possibly escaping to Argentina, but there's also been rumors of him being in Colombia. One thing I found, it says A declassified CIA memo from 1954 mentioned a report of Hitler being seen in Colombia along with photograph of a man resembling him. However, the CIA later recommend, what's that word? Recommended
Yep.
dropping the investigation to the remote possibilities of establishing any concrete.
I mean, when you're the most hated person in the world, say you're in Argentina, and people start talking about you being there, you're not going to want to stay there. You're going to want to get out before people come looking for you.
Right, and I found an interesting thing. They'll go along with Sean's there, and it's in October of 1955. A CIA station in Caracas, Venezuela, received a report from a former agent named Philip. I'll probably butcher this name, but I think it's Philip Satrowick, who stated he encountered Hitler once a month in Tunja, Colombia. And there's apparently an alleged photograph. I don't know if any of y'all can bring it up or not, but there is a photograph. I've seen it for myself that you can actually show people.
I'll try to find it while I'm editing. See if I
Okay.
can throw it up there.
Now,
Yeah.
now there's
YouTube's kind of sensitive about stuff, considering we're talking about a funny mustache man.
I've been kind of wanting to go with tiny mustache. But
That too.
there are other locations, that he is said to be seen at. Alleged sightings were reported in various places around the world, including Austria, Indonesia, the U.S., and even suggestions of escaping to Antarctica. Now, Antarctica is about the only place he could go without being followed too much, but
I don't know. Them penguins might have been after him.
Well, you had all these sightings, and then you had there's a few crazies out there that claim to be Hitler, but they wasn't. Interesting article was in 1946. An American miner and Baptist preacher named William Henry Johnson. He was sending out a whole bunch of series of letters with the pen name Fuhrer #1. Anyway, it goes on to say he claimed that there was tunnels that were being dug to Washington, and they were making nuclear bombs and all kinds of weird things. But he was arrested on mail fraud, and of course, he wasn't the real Hitler.
There's one documentary I watched. It's been a little while back, but there's where he was at. There was supposedly a lot of like tunnel systems and stuff that ran under Berlin, and one of the tunnels that they claimed that he could have gone down, there was a entrance that had been bricked up. They bricked it up, made it look like the rest of the wall, but it was hollow behind that section, and there was a tunnel that came out at the airport. and from the airport, he could have gone right into the airport without ever being seen. And they would have been able to get him on a plane, and I believe the claims were that they flew to Spain and landed in Spain, and he got on the submarine that took him to Argentina.
Yeah, because there's ironically 2 German submarines that surrendered in Argentina after the war had ended.
Yeah.
I had it brought up.
Now, some people say about them submarines that all of them were sank and that Hitler wasn't on none of them. But I mean, who knows? You know, back in that period and stuff, how are you going to check? For real, you know?
We can't track them like we, or they couldn't track them like we can now.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. I actually got the dates of the two U-boats that surrendered. Okay, the war. What day? When did the war end exactly?
Um,
Oh,
We should
Lord.
know this. God, we're terrible.
I know, I know. Oh,
I'm getting to it.
Me
September
too.
2nd, 1945 was the technical end of World War II, but Hitler supposedly killed himself in April 30th of 1945.
All
right.
right, two U-boats that surrendered in Argentina. One under the command of Otto Wermuth surrendered July 10th, 1945, in Mer del Plata, Argentina. Germany surrendered May 7th. All
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Crew has destroyed all documents, all ship logs, all ID tags, claimed they'd simply been wandering the Atlantic since Germany surrendered. Refused to explain what they were doing in South American waters. The Argentine Navy had no clear explanation for their presence, no sign of stress or emergency. They had food, fuel, and were in good condition.
Wow. Quiet.
Then you had U boat 977 under the command of Heinz Schaefer, surrendered August 17th, 1945, in the same place, Mar del Plata, 3 months after Germany surrendered. Schaefer claimed he took 66-day submerged journey across the Atlantic to avoid capture by Allies. He insisted it was a gesture of loyalty to his crew, not an escape mission. He had no logs, no verifiable tracking data, no explanation for why he sailed to Argentina instead of surrendering to Allied naval forces in Europe. Wrote a memoir called U-977, 66 Days Underwater, widely viewed as self-serving and contradictory. Also he's tied to escape theories that he carried Eva Braun possibly documents and or gold rather than Hitler himself.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So we were talking about the body double earlier. That if that was a body double and maybe even a female body double, what if it was? This was a very turbulent time. What if it was way too dangerous for them to travel together, so they split up? You had one German U-boat deliver him, then the next one deliver her and a shipment of gold so they could live off of.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a good theory. I never thought of that one.
And if they, I mean, did you mention Norway or Denmark yet, Sean?
Um, I think there's a possibility of them being seen there, but or him being
Yeah.
seen there, but
If Norway and Denmark remained under German control till the end of the war, they still had garrisons of troops, still had flyable aircraft, and Luftwaffe pilots, God, I can't say that. Their pilots, if there were any still that were skilled enough, could have flown out of Germany. The best pilots were skilled enough to fly under the radar, get someone to Norway or one of those places to a sub base, and I believe that's where these subs are based out of originally, and get them on a sub to Spain to where they could refuel and rearm. Spain was never took part in the war.
yeah.
They were neutral during the whole time, but they were also friendly-ish to the Nazi Party because I believe it was Franco during his rebellion or whatever his civil
Yeah.
war. He was fighting communist forces during that time, and you had Germany supporting one side and the USSR supporting the other side during that conflict. So he was actually pretty friendly to Hitler.
You know what I've wondered about. I firmly do believe that the Soviet covered the whole thing up with Hitler and everything. but I don't. They weren't really on either side, and so I don't know why they would have covered it up to begin with, because they weren't really fighting for Germany, but they weren't really fighting for the other side either. They were kind of
Well,
like Japan, just fighting to be fighting.
uh,
I
I
I think Russia was just, they were starting to establish a power, because it wasn't too long after then you had, the Cold War and all that. So I think that was all about, kind of establishing, a way to show power.
well, I got a little theory on that. If we go back and really look at history, and you really, if you're not counting the Japanese in this at all, and you go back to when World War II started, not as I said, not counting Japanese aggression in China. The Russians and Germans kind of started World War II by they both invaded Poland. It wasn't just the Germans. They had an agreement to take Poland in half, and they were going to split it. And then,
I'll put it this way: back in that time where they were at, them two were trying to show who had the biggest dick. It's like, who? Look at me. I'm better than you are.
yeah, but then you had, thank you, Cat. But then you had
Then
Germany that
America came in
invaded.
and said, "Oh yeah, watch this."
Well, yeah, but then you also had Germany that invaded Russia and broke that agreement between them.
Yeah.
So if Hitler escaped, and we agreed to let the Russians take Berlin, we let them roll into Berlin, and then they don't capture Hitler, that's a huge embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's egg on your face. So I could kind of see why they might not advertise, oh, he got away.
Or use a body double.
Yeah, something like that.
Cover it up to save face.
Something like that.
Oh, to let y'all know, we do have one listener on Podbean Live.
That's cool.
It's Crystal. She's listening.
Oh,
She says
thanks,
we're,
Crystal.
she says we're sounding really good.
Good deal, good deal. But that's just I got little theories and tidbits. It's just not you know. Let's see.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's hard to find, like, actually concrete evidence. Of course, everybody has their own little theories and tidbits to throw in, but nobody has an actual solid theory.
There there were the documentaries and stuff. There's a show that I've watched some of. It's called Finding Hitler, and they've interviewed people. There's still people that are living today that can remember World War II. I mean, it might have been 80 years ago. My Crystal had a client who was in Germany at, right after the war was over, and he served and was in Germany, and he just recently passed away. So I mean, there's still people that would remember things from back then, and they were interviewing people from Argentina. Of course, you can't hardly find anybody that doesn't know what Hitler looks like. There's people in Argentina go, yeah, I saw him. He walked right down that road there, or I seen him in this village.
Right.
I mean, they were old enough to know what he looked like, or remember, have memories of the Nazi soldiers being in the area.
Yeah. My kind of theory on it all, all these sightings of Hitler and stuff. My theory on it is that, why not have just a whole bunch of doubles that appear in all these different places to throw off everybody? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, almost every country uses. I mean, you look at almost every dictatorship; they use body doubles.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't
right.
Hitler? I think Stalin had a couple. But anyway, they called them the rat lines because the Nazis had escape routes to Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay, and occasionally into the Middle East. There was a lot of high ranking Nazis and soldiers that managed to get away into these places.
Hmm.
Some of them were later tracked down by like Israeli intelligence, the Nazi hunters, and stuff like that. But there were others that never went to trial, that never were, brought before a jury or anything. They got to live out their lives despite whatever they did. I believe Mengele was one of them.
Okay.
I believe you're
Okay.
right.
I have a theory.
Hmm.
I have my theory. But hear me out. Y'all are gonna think I'm crazy now.
We already
But
do.
well, shut up.
Hmm.
Okay. Hitler's ideal race: blonde hair, blue eye. Their symbol is the swastika. What's that make you think of?
Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. That's right. The people on the people from Hollow Earth are blonde haired, blue eyed. Their flying saucers have swastikas on them. He went to Hollow Earth.
Well, they say he was looking for it. That's part of our other episode about Hollow Earth.
He was all into that stuff. He was trying to make UFOs.
I kind of figured that would get brought up.
But
I was
but,
wondering if it would.
but if you talk to Sam Elliott, he is the man who killed Hitler and the Bigfoot.
Hmm.
I've actually seen that movie.
I like
It's it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
But
it's
anyway,
anyway. Yeah, like I've got a list of high-ranking Nazis that never stood trial.
Really?
Mengele was one of them. The Angel of Death, Auschwitz camp doctor.
Well, they should have got him.
He escaped to Argentina, then Paraguay, then Brazil, and he didn't die until 1979 by drowning. He was also, his alias was known as Wolfgang Gerhard, and he escaped by using forged Red Cross documents. Then you had Otto Skorinski. He was Hitler's commando, famous for rescuing Mussolini. He was an SS officer. He was captured, but then escaped Allied custody in 1948. But he never served any prison time. Let's see. You had Eichmann's top lieutenant. Eichmann was the one that orchestrated the Holocaust. But his top lieutenant deported over 100,000 Jewish people to death camps, fled to Syria, and became an advisor to the Assad regime. Never stood trial and died in 2001.
Boy, a lot of these people should have stood trial, for all the terrible things that they did.
Here's one that's probably going to irritate you a little bit. Reinhard Gehlen, a German intelligence officer, head of foreign armies in the East, captured by us, but instead of standing trial, recruited into U.S. intelligence.
You're kidding.
Nope.
but think about it. How many of the German scientists did we bring over here?
Yeah, that's
We-
what.
That's how we came up with the atomic bomb. It's 'cause
That is very true.
If the German scientists would have stayed in Germany, they would have came up with the atomic bomb, and Germany would be ruling the world.
Yeah, and I don't want to touch too much on it because you said I can pick the next episode, and I'm kind of wanting to touch into this a little bit. Next episode is going to be about that. I was wanting to
About
talk.
the atomic bomb?
No, not about. It's something called Operation Paperclip. It was
Oh, yeah,
operation
that's
we
pretty
did, and I wanted it to tie into your episode here, Sean.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
So,
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
we'll get it.
that's
I'll
pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll get into it near the end of the show. But anyway, here's another one. Let's see. Uh, Hans Kammler, SS general who oversaw the construction of Auschwitz, disappeared in 1945, declared dead, but no body was ever recovered. Some believe he was taken by U.S. intelligence under Operation Paperclip, but we don't know. It's just wild. And the crazy thing is, you notice the rat lines we talked about: Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, all these places had really good connections to the Nazis. They did not have good connections with us and the Allies in general.
That is very true.
We were not well liked in Brazil at the time. Argentina is not what it was today, where we have semi decent relationships with them.
Well, I mean, back then anyway, we wasn't real liked by a whole lot of people at
Yeah.
all.
Well, Argentina had a what you'd call a fascist government back then. I know the word gets thrown around a lot today in modern media, but it had a true fascist dictatorship back then. And they were on friendly terms with the Nazis, so it's very possible he could have escaped and then wandered around South America. He would have had the money and the friends in high places to survive.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's rumored that he possibly had children. We don't know.
That wouldn't be fun for anyone.
Yeah, but I mean, you change your name, you change your appearance a little bit, and even if he did a couple of facial things and changed his appearance, a lot of people don't pay that much close attention if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion.
I wouldn't want a dad like that.
Oh hell no. No, not at all. But it's I don't know, it's dark and pretty disturbing to think he might have escaped. But in
Well,
the end we just don't have proof.
yeah, right, and and how evil he was, all the things he did to, the persecution of the Jews and everything else, is just unreal. The madness, in that man's mind.
Well, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just the Jews, it was gypsies, it was
Well, yeah,
people of other sexual orientations, it was sometimes Catholics,
right.
Disabled
uh,
people.
disabled. Yeah, that was another one. Yeah, it was a dark period of
Yeah,
human history,
he wanted a perfect society.
but he didn't even
Crystal,
match the perfect society.
Crystal tossed out the fact that uh, Ava was also, was not only were they a couple, but she was also his cousin as well. So there's a little tidbit for you.
Well, not all that surprising. I mean, look at medieval aristocrat society back in the day. They're all related.
Right.
And
Yeah,
even
that like. Go ahead, Gabe.
even like semi-modern uh, English monarchy, they were inbred for a long time.
You are correct.
Yeah, I mean, one of the famous examples is the Habsburgs.
Mm-hmm.
They were related to every single royal family in Europe. They were marrying nieces to uncles, so on and so forth. It got bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of craziness that can, if you really we kind of skimmed a lot of stuff on this, but if you really dove into it, man, you could go down some rabbit holes.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
just the escape theory alone, you can go down rabbit holes if you
Yeah.
could just make it to. Because us and like the USSR weren't really like communicating air traffic at the time. We someone could have slipped a plane out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it happening.
There was way too much hatred back then. There ain't no telling what really happened.
Mm.
You know, you know, as you think about, I was talking about him going to flying from Germany to Spain. That's really not that far by plane. And if he made little jumps like flew like a couple hundred miles, landed, jumped in another plane, flew a couple hundred miles, you know, it he could still get there in no time and just not really be noticed in a small plane.
But even if he didn't go directly to Spain and say jumped off into Norway and took the sub, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be real easy to do. But I don't know. I don't think we'll ever really know unless there's a body that's recovered that they can full doubt, prove that it is Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's any you that there's really any kind of DNA evidence to be able to prove that it was him.
Yeah, I mean, or do we even have a dental record to go on? Anything like that?
I don't know.
Well, now I do have something kind of about that, about dental records. In May of 1945, Soviets, of course, they found a jawbone and two dental fragments. They were shown to two associates of Hitler's personal dentist, Hugo Blaschke, his assistant, I'll probably butcher this name, but Cass Hauserman, and longtime dental technician Fritz Ekman, who identified the dental remains as Hitler's and Braun's. Blasch also agreed with it later in statements.
That's possible too.
They could have very easily just lied about it too.
Yeah, I agree. No doubt about that.
Yeah, it depends. Like, were they true believers in the Third Reich and all that?
That is a good question.
Yeah, very good. So I don't know. So it's just wild.
Yeah. So since we're kind of winding down on this, I kind of want to start doing something. We don't have to do it every episode. I want to start kind of sharing like different podcasts that we might be listening to or something. Kind of throwing a shout out to some of these podcasts that might not be very big yet or anything. And there's been a couple that I've been listening to here lately, and one of them I know you were talking about a Bigfoot guy you want to get on sometime, but there's one that I've been talking to them about possibly doing an interview or a collaboration on an episode, but it's called the Grounded Galactic Twins, and they are based out of Arkansas, and they are one has had UFO and ET experiences and stuff like that, and paranormal experiences as well. Then there's another one called the Afterlife Hotline, which they're based out of Arkansas as well. Both of them are fairly new shows that if anybody gets a chance, give them a listen and help them out too, because I know if we share their podcast, they'll probably share ours too. Say, hey, listen to them, so we get the word out and help others out with it as well. So
Yeah, I'm game with that
Yeah, that's a good idea.
for sure.
I think we hit pretty good on quite a bit of stuff with this one.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We sure did.
Yeah. You want me to go ahead and preview the next week's or the next episode we're going to do?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
All right. It actually really does tie into what we were talking about here. During near the end of World War II, as it's winding down, American agencies decided to launch an operation to get as much brain power out of Germany as possible at the time. So they launched Operation Paperclip, and they brought a bunch of Nazi scientists over to the United States, and some of them were the founding members of NASA. A lot of our rocketry, a lot of our technology stems from Operation Paperclip, where we smuggled a whole bunch of scientists out of Germany. But on the flip side of that, I was also going to try to cover something that's pretty dark called Unit 731, which is taking place at the same time this is taking place, which were the medical experiments that the Japanese were doing over in the Pacific. We didn't recruit their scientists, but we wanted their medical knowledge that they had gained through all these experiments, and they were not pretty experiments. But it advanced our medical knowledge by leaps and bounds, like well beyond what we have now, including biological warfare, all that, cold weather, climate fighting, all that. It really increased what we know about medical fields, but in a lot of ways, the cost of it was really, really high, and it's pretty dark. So the next episode will be about Operation Paperclip and Unit 731.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm just warning you, 731 is a lot darker than you're thinking, because no one talks about the Japanese atrocities in World War II. It's very well brushed over, and they're on par with the Nazi atrocities, if not sometimes worse.
Well, I'm anxious to get into it.
All right, we'll do it.
That sounds pretty good.
Kind of making me think about that around the same time that I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the ship that they tried to teleport.
The Manhattan Project? Not the Manhattan.
Yes.
Is it Manhattan Project?
Yes, that's it.
The Manhattan Project was the nuclear bomb.
Was it?
Yeah, no, you're right. Gosh dang it, what was that?
You
Wasn't
know
there,
what I'm talking about,
wasn't there
though.
something called the Philadelphia?
Philadelphia Project, that's it.
Yeah.
It was one of them daggum things.
I knew one of us would remember.
Manhattan, Philadelphia, they're all in the same area.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. The Philadelphia experiment took place, in the 50s?
Probably.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll have to do an episode on that before too long, too.
Yeah.
That's some wild stuff.
Oh, God, yeah. That's crazy stuff right there. Well, Sean, if you want to go ahead and lead us out.
All right. So we've got the anybody that wants to email us any suggestions or ideas of episodes or whatnot, our email address, that's what it's called, is paranormaladventures2@gmail.com. Then, of course, we've got Crystal and I've got the Facebook page, Paranormal Adventures with Sean and Crystal. That's on Facebook. And the rough copy of this show is on the Paranormal Adventures Presents VODs. So that's where you get all the kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff and all that. But for the crazy people that are into that crap, then of course we got the YouTube page, which makes us look professional. Thanks to Richard there, the one of the gurus here. So that's what is it? Paranormal Adventures presents the Supernatural Roundtable.
Yep, the Supernatural. I've kind of just rebranded it mostly the Supernatural Roundtable.
Okay, that sounds better.
But yeah, I have the Supernatural Roundtable, and it has the Podbean Paranormal Adventures linked into it, so they can click on into the Podbean website, so they can go listen to all those episodes over there.
And also, don't forget about the Arky Squatchers Facebook page. Anybody, you're welcome to throw in stories, or maybe you've got some stuff you'd like to actually share live with us, and come on. We'd be happy to have you. And subscribe to us, like and share with your friends.
Yeah, our subscribers have actually gone up. We're at 29 now, and
Yeah.
viewers have actually gone up too. So I appreciate it, and they do too. We appreciate everyone checking us out.
Yeah, join our family.
The small and growing family that it is.
Yeah. We'll just call them the fellow adventurers.
Our little adventurers. All right, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think so.
Alrighty then.
Good job, guys.
We'll see
Alright.
y'all later.
Good.
Yeah, I gotta get to work editing.